Hello and welcome to another episode of the Never a Straight Answer podcast, the podcast that aims to cover a wide range of topics from conspiracy theories to popular culture and news. I'm your host Gaz, and joined from an undisclosed remote location, you know him, is the original codebreaker, the Times crossword Taylor.
Yeah.
Woo!
Oh.
He's a puzzler. Puzzles, the best of us, this guy. He's a conundrum. Well,
that is definitely a fact.
That is a fact. Well, I hope you're all keeping sane. It's almost been a year of lockdown, gubbins.
Yes, it has. Yeah, it's.
You need to keep yourself entertained, and of course, that's why you're here.
True.
Of course, you got to get your laugh somewhere, haven't you?
Yeah, got to do something, haven't you?
You got to have a laugh. Well, we've got a truly fascinating episode this week. We're going to be joined on the show by researcher and author of the book The Lockwood Code, the awesome TJ Barnham.
Yeah.
Hey, mate, he's made a really alluring discovery that's not only baffling, it baffled me, it's packed with coincidences and could have even predicted such world events as the election and rise to power of one Donald Trump, COVID-19, and much more.
Yes.
So, make sure you stick around for that, boy.
Yes.
It's a good show this week, actually. You know, I mean, TJ was really interesting to talk to.
Thinking in a few areas.
Yeah, well, in fact, there's even a way that you can try and replicate TJ's findings yourself. You know, and you know, it's pretty cool, pretty interesting stuff. So, but before we get into all that, what's this week held for you, Taylor? Have you been up to much?
Mate, the usual at the minute.
I've been doing a bit of it. You've been looking at the what?
I've been looking at about the moon and the objects found on the moon. And,
the moon? It's a big orange, yellow cheesy thing up in the sky. Is that the thing? Yeah, go on. So what have you discovered about
the moon lately? And going back and recapping and seeing what information's come forward that I already knew that what has been added, because there's always an add-on and there's always a bit that's been taken out, so you can sort of get the gist of where the lines they're actually coming from, so you know if they're lying or not in some cases.
So go on. What's been discovered now? Because I know there's been a lot of activity with space agencies trying to get back up to the moon recently.
There's a guy, right? Well, there was supposed to be 20 Apollo missions. Yeah, it only ended up being 17. 17th one ended up being the last one. I think that was in. I think it was 70. I think it was 68. The last one, or 72. One or the other. I can't remember.
72.
Yeah, there's that many numbers. So supposedly after the 17th one, they stopped the program because of one thing or another. But a gentleman has come forward. I believe he's writing a book at the moment that is stated that he was on the 20th, the last.
He was
mission.
On one of the missions.
Yeah, and basically the last 3 missions were to go back and actually see what they had spotted on the other trips. So they actually. So
it was literally specifically a reconnaissance mission to investigate those sightings. Well,
according to this fella. So,
we might come into this a bit more in depth at some point.
As well.
Oh, and there's a video. Can you send me the video? Because I'll post it out to people. Because do you know what? I will get people saying, "Where's the video?"
Yeah.
So make sure you do that, Mr. Unreliable Taylor.
Unreliable.
I'm only joking, mate. I've been other than that moon exploring.
Well, and looking at when one of the Apollos, I think it was Apollo 8, was passing the moon. There was actually a tower that threw off a plume of something.
Is this obelisk sort of?
It's over 1,000 feet high.
Yeah, because I've seen pictures of this. I think I've seen YouTube videos on that as well. It's interesting stuff. Obviously, there you go. I think just think of it as future episodes of the Never a Straight Answer podcast, where we dig in. We have talked
deeper about it in the past, and we'll probably talk about it in the future as well. But there's a lot of strange things. But
he's off and running this week, isn't he?
I am.
There you go. Just want to say thank you to YouTube. Basically, was going crazy this week. Thank you for all the amazing response last week's episode. Thank you, David, for joining us. If you've not already checked that out, go and do it. It's on the it's basically the podcast stream on YouTube, so you're not missing out on anything extra. But this week especially, it was
definitely a mint week this week.
It was. Thank you for all the response.
Thank you,
really cool. So thank you for. I hope you enjoy more of our episodes coming up.
Keep being offenders.
Other than that, I've been working on the website, making that a bit better. Other than that, it's been quite a chilled week. Been playing poker with you on Xbox a little bit, haven't I?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I've been winning a fortune at the minute.
You got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them.
Yeah, as you were singing last night.
I was taunting people.
You were. I think you scared a few people off, actually.
I did. Yeah, it was like, well, you take the money. Well, I didn't scare them off.
Yeah,
I bust the bank. That's what you do. That's why they left.
Yeah, that's it. You were using tactics.
Other bit of news. We'll be taking part in the online podcast festival, Superpod.
Yes, we
in a
will.
couple of weeks.
Forward to it.
Yeah, it's raising money for comic relief and sports relief, I believe.
Yes.
We've never done anything like this, so it'll be quite good to do.
It's our first one, isn't it? Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I reckon it'd be a good show, and if you can join in, people, then you're
definitely
more than welcome. If you can donate, if you can, then
that'll be amazing. Get over to superpod.co.uk. We're on the bill there, and you can show your support in a number of ways over there, I am sure.
Yeah, well, we'll give you more information as the time gets closer to it.
Exactly. That. Do you know what I was going to say that?
I'm a mind reader, mate.
He's clairvoyant.
Yeah.
Well, somebody who is, I think, is a bit clairvoyant here, in our segment, Chain Connections. Thank you so much to everybody who played along at home this week. As expected, I knew that a lot of people would come back with Elon Musk.
Yeah.
As the person in question.
And that's where we were going. Where
I get it.
Thought you were going to go to
space car and all that. You know, we had a few correct answers, but the first person who got it this week was Harriet again, our reigning champ. And going, give you one of them.
Wrong one, Harriet.
Well, I'm one of these.
On the ball.
Oh my god! Yeah, so I can't believe it. She's on the ball. Honestly, she's smashed it.
She's sat there waiting for the next one. Like,
she messages me going, "I'm almost got it. I think I've nearly cracked it." And then she'll give me an answer, but you can tell she's really unsure when she sends the answer. Well, as many people are, but thank you for getting involved, and do get involved. It's fun.
Right.
Can you knock Harriet off the champ spot?
I don't think so. By the looks
of
things.
Well, if you didn't guess what it was, and what was the answer last week, Taylor?
It was Mr. Richard Branson.
Mr. Branston.
Yeah.
I always thought he was a missing out there. He could have bought the pickle company and renamed it Branston Pickles. Well, we've got a story about Richard coming up actually in the show. There's a lot of coincidences with today's show, but so we've got 3 more clues.
We have indeed.
And like I say, we've got the clues last week. Pretty obvious if you know the answer. We had the Virgin Hold music. Many people have been on the receiving end of that. Obviously, he's got his passenger space bus, Virgin Galactic, went up into space the first time, 2018. Has been around the world as well in his balloon. I did drop a bit of a little mini clue there, like a bit Phileas Fogg.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It was a good one.
Yeah. Well, we've got a bunch more clues to deliver throughout the show. So pay attention, and maybe you can join Harriet as our Smarty Pants of the week.
Oh, yes.
Well, some of the clues can be audio, cryptic, or visual, depending on the show. I believe it's all cryptic this week, Mr. Taylor.
Yes, it is. Yes, because I don't believe you could get a sound for this.
Well, what's your first clue this week?
My first clue is very warm.
Right.
It keeps you warm.
It's very warm. It keeps you warm. He's really thought about it this week, guys. I can see that. Right, it's very warm. It keeps you warm. That's the first clue. Could be anything.
Yeah, anything, everything.
A blanket.
You never know.
A house.
Could be.
I don't know, radiator.
Car.
Anything. Could be.
Yeah.
We'll give. Hopefully, he's got some more enlightening clues
I'm hoping
coming up.
you're getting this one.
Well, while you're pondering that, this week's episode is in association, affiliation with TeePublic, the world's largest marketplace for independent creators to sell their work to high-quality merchandise, make high-quality merchandise. Every TeePublic purchase supports independent artists from podcasters, streamers, and more. We're on there. Yeah,
we are.
So you got to know it's awesome. Follow the link and join up as a creator or just shop for high quality stuff. Yeah.
Go for a shop around.
There you go. Link in the description.
You've got nothing else to do.
Told you. Well, like I say. Well, what if someone was to tell you there's a series of books written over 120 years ago that predict a number of world events? Events such as the political rise of Donald Trump, the COVID-19 pandemic, the death of George Floyd, amongst other events. Well, this week's guest says that he's cracked the code using the very same methods popularised by the Bible Code researchers. Joining us on the show this week is TJ Barnham. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. So it's a really interesting topic. I was really kind of fascinated when the Da Vinci Code and, when they started doing the Bible codes and even the Shakespeare Code where they were kind of finding hidden messages and hidden, symbolism and all types
seems to be a lot later.
Things hidden within text. You say that you've kind of found another example of this. I mean, can you give us a bit more information?
Yeah, sure. I've always been fascinated kind of the same stuff with codes ever since I was a little kid. I think every little boy kind of goes through that phase where they like to write secret messages and, an invisible link and all that fun stuff. And basically, years and years ago, I ran across this thing called the Bible Code. And I'm not super religious, so I'm not going to get into the religious aspects of it. But it was basically
not per se, but I'm really fascinated by all the kind of the dogma behind a lot of it, and the kind of, it is interesting stuff. But I mean, in the same respect as I'm open-minded to weird stuff, Bigfoot and all types of stuff, I'm open-minded to people's perspectives and worldviews. So, even though you can be non-religious and still appreciate what the message is. So,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
that's kind of where I lie too.
Yeah. Cool.
And but what the Bible Code was a group of Hebrew scholars, basically, long time ago, early biblical times, that found supposedly hidden codes in the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Old Testament. And they're called equal distance letter sequences, or ELS codes. And it's basically one of the earliest forms of encryption. It's not a very advanced form of encryption at all. You're basically hiding codes within a block of text by skipping letters. So let's say...
So it's pretty simple code. It's not exactly, easily solvable if you put your mind to it, then, if it's just skipping letters.
Yeah, depending on how many you skip, you can get pretty advanced. Like, for example, in the Bible Code, one of the first ones that they found was if you start in the Old Testament and Genesis, if you skip every 300 letters, it spells out the word Torah.
Oh, right, okay.
One of the first ones they found, which,
that'd spur me on that, because I do find that interesting, because obviously they've gone to the lengths to hide that word within and use a code, and I don't know whether it's kind of, it predetermines the text as is because they're trying to fit in this secret message, or the secret message is because obviously these words, every 300 letters, they're trying to have a certain letter in place to fulfill that message. So
yeah, but surely they could be.
Does that not just say that, like,
that it's been put in that way?
The text is written to dictate to the message or vice versa. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah.
Oh yeah. And that's kind of the whole thing that fascinates me is, is it random probability or is it put there on purpose?
No, you see, most of these things I couldn't say that it was. I mean, obviously, these happenstance happens all the time.
There has to be random,
and randomness, but
yeah, there has to be.
For it to be
I'm sure
so
there are some
prolific,
that are just probable.
Yeah,
absolutely. But where it really got interesting with the ELS codes, though, is beforehand they had to actually count, and they couldn't find very many. Where it really got interesting is in the 80s when computers kind of came along and were able to do a lot of the work for these guys. And there were one professor in particular who wrote a paper in the Journal of Mathematics, and it was called, I forget the exact title, but something along the lines of equidistance letter codes in the book of Genesis. And using computer algorithms and things like that, he found all kinds of crazy things in the Bible, like the assassination of JFK, predictions about Hitler, World War II, you name it, it was in there. And his sort of take was, he sort of treated it as an interesting puzzle. He wasn't religious. He was, an atheist mathematics professor. But he was like, okay, they're there. There's no question they're there.
Yeah.
The question then becomes, is it random probability? Or is it mysticism, or is it, something else entirely that we don't understand at all?
So when you say it prophesizes, I mean, is it an accurate prophecy or an accurate prediction, or is it a vague thing that's a vague, quote or paragraph that we've then interpreted as the prophecy and attributing a meaning to it? Or is it quite an accurate prophecy that there's no doubt in your mind that you read that and that's definitely talking about this particular thing?
Yeah. I mean, in retrospect to the Bible code, some of them are a little vague and kind of Nostradamus.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to say. Nostradamus seems, and most of my experience in prophets and soothsayers and, these types of people, they are quite vague, and it's what people's interpretation of that is. So I'm really interested in prophecies and how how people kind of get that from get it from these little bits of information, and then all of a sudden it means that JFK is going to get shot on this particular day, and that's what that meant. So I mean, it's confusing in a way, because obviously unless you're thinking of it in that way firsthand and trying to attribute it to it or looking for events that it could possibly be, then it's not a true prediction, is it? Because it'll be, it's your opinion, or not your opinion, but the person's opinion making that connection.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, some of them were pretty vague, but some of them were pretty specific too, in the Bible code. For example, one of them was, it literally said, John F. Kennedy, and then crossing right through his name, it said assassinated.
Well, there you go. I mean, now that, to me, is...
That's pretty specific.
Specific as anything. That's as specific as you can get. Now, that's what I'm talking about. Now, if it's that accurate, then you can't really argue with it, can you? So in terms of the Bible code, what other prophecies that stick out to you?
God, there were so many in the Bible code. It's crazy. If you're really interested in it, I have the book by Michael Dorskin wrote. This is pretty much the book. It's probably flipped on my screen.
Okay, the Bible code.
Yeah, it's written by a guy named Michael Dorskin, and he was a journalist. He recently died, actually, not too long ago.
I'll put a link in the description.
Yeah. And he's the one that basically made the Bible code popular. He was a journalist. He kind of ran into the mathematician in Jerusalem that did the paper I talked about. And, there were some History Channel documentaries and things like in the 90s about it. And that's kind of where it gained track and steam. And there's still quite a big community online of Bible code prophecy guys. I found it interesting, I kind of always filed it away, but where I picked it up is I was more interested in the method.
Yeah.
And if I could apply it to other books.
Now, this is what gets me fascinated with this, because how did you kind of come up with the literature to apply the method to?
Yeah, well, what happened was back in about 2015, Politico wrote an article about these books written by an author named Ingersoll Lockwood. And it was basically kind of like a little blurb piece that just talked about how there were these weird coincidences in these books that this guy wrote back in the late 1800s.
Now you're talking about Byron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey is one of the books, isn't it? I mean, when I read the title straight away, I was kind of like, okay. Now, I did see a story back a few years ago that suggested that Trump was a time traveler and maybe influenced that book.
Yeah, and that was kind of the meme that spurred from this article. You know, people read the article, and originally it was just talking about these weird coincidences. Like, you know, there were 3 books. There was the first one was called The Travels and Adventures of Little Baron Trump, and it kind of introduces us to Baron Trump as this little kid. And, you know, he shares the same name as Donald Trump's son, Barron Trump, albeit spelled differently.
Yeah.
But, and it just was these weird coincidences. Like, for example, he lived, you know, in a castle on Fifth Avenue in New York. And, you know, there's Trump Towers on Fifth Avenue in New York. The character itself, you know, it starts out going to Russia and getting in and out of adventures there.
Yeah.
He likes to get in these entanglements with women. He likes to...
So it's pretty on the nose then, isn't it?
Yeah. He likes to insult people with unique nicknames, which, you know, that's Trump right there all day. That's all he does.
Now, these books were written back in the 1800s. 1893, one of them was the Underground Journey was published. So, I mean, it's not exactly a recent book. You'd think that they were written, you know, during the presidential term, wouldn't you? You know, with the kind of the similarities.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. Like, the first one was written in 1889, and then he wrote a sequel called Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey, which is written in 1893. And then he wrote another book separate from the Baron Trump novels called 1900 or The Last President. And he wrote that in 1896, I believe. And that one had some weird, crazy connections, too, because it's about this populist president who gets elected that is very diversive, that nobody likes. And then all these riots break out across the country between socialists and anarchists. And it's like reading the front page of the New York Times.
I wouldn't say nobody likes him. I mean,
you're a bit
there is a few out there.
Well, yeah, I mean,
like half.
Half the country.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but basically, yeah.
Everyone agrees he's very diverse.
Yeah, he's very different to divisive. What you've had in, yeah.
And but that book in particular too also has like these crazy connections. So the Political article kind of touched on that. It's like, hey, look at all these coincidences, aren't they weird? And I kind of filed away when I read it. I kind of remembered ELS codes in the Bible code, and I was like, oh, you know what? I wonder if anyone has ever plugged in ELS codes into these books, and just to see what would happen. It was more of an experiment, like, hey, I wonder if like funny things would show up. Because one of the criticisms of ELS codes, which I fully admit, is if you take a big enough piece of text, you're gonna find words. I mean, there's only so many letters. There's only so many things you do.
Yeah,
there's
but
gonna be
it's when those words. Yeah, well, I was thinking that as well. But the difference is you're gonna find words in a random piece of text, right?
Yeah.
But when those words make sentences and those sentences make paragraphs, that's something else. That's not, and something that's, legible, when you can read and make sense to you, then that's more than coincidence. It's more than probability, I think, and is this what you've kind of discovered? I mean, what is it you've found during this kind of experiment? Yeah,
so basically, that's how I kind of wanted to structure it. I was like, because people have done this before with like, if you take any relatively large novel like Great Expectations or War and Peace, you could find some of those same things that, like there's JFK assassination predictions in Great Expectations.
Really?
Charles Dickens and things like that. So a lot of people, like a lot of critics, have been like, "Look, this is just random probability. It happens," which I fully admit that's a possibility. The thing about these novels, though, is they're not relatively big for one thing. They're children's novels, so they're like, they're not that big.
Yeah.
So that right there is a nice test case, and the sheer volume of the information is pretty overwhelming.
I think the actual subject matter itself as well, the coincidences, I mean, like you said, you can take Great Expectations and get a JFK prediction out of it, but when you're talking about a novel that already has similarities to the person we think it's talking about and the family it's talking about, and then to only run this experiment to find out that there's even more if you read between the lines, that again can't be a coincidence, can it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple theories. If you're into divine stuff, it could be divine, it could be random. I kind of like the mystery of it all. I think it could be a couple things. I think if I had to choose, like, what is this? I kind of like to subscribe to the idea of, I've always kind of been fascinated with like the collective unconscious. Carl Jung, Joseph Campbell, these guys talked a lot about these things. And it's like, what if art and music is sort of like the source code of the collective unconscious, and little pieces of us are just kind of hidden in those things. I
do kind of agree with that. And I think especially how art and music make you feel. And, in terms of there is a resonance that, I mean, you could go into them living in a simulation or Matrix world, or everything's kind of being projected into our minds. But it's the music and the art that is a subconscious connection that keeps everybody grounded. Do you know what I mean? Because it's something that's available and always is available. So the Beatles albums will always be there. And, did you see, there's a film out yesterday, I think it's called, where everybody on the planet forgets who the Beatles are. And it was kind of like how just taking that influence away from the world was enough to kind of sadden it slightly. Do you know what I mean? And
I saw that movie. It's a great movie.
Yeah, good movie. Sorry, off topic. But,
No.
So carry on anyway,
I think I think it's right on topic, actually, because I really do think that there is something to say about the collective unconscious, and like there's a reason that almost every culture in history has like the same stories. If you go back, like we all have similar fairy tales, we all have similar creation stories, we all have similar like flood stories, and there's something about them, just the way we tell stories. If you've read The Hero with a Thousand Faces, it's not so much that every story has a beginning, a middle, and an end, but they have these reoccurring archetypes and
of course,
things that are so different to the way you've been taught that it's a case of you'd like to investigate because
I think it's in a different area. A case of the we always have a baddie, we always have a protagonist. It's always kind of
yin and yang, in it.
We always kind of follow these, like you say, these archetypes of how things play out generally. So
and it does seem to repeat itself as well. That's another common thing that I find, like the true words. History always repeats itself. Yeah, of course it does. We never learn from our mistakes, but we just carry on.
It's funny that, actually, because you say that history repeats itself. I was saying about revolutions earlier, about how many times we've had revolutions come and go, and cycles of the planet and stuff like that.
I mean, the first war, you would have thought that at least the winner would have turned around and gone, right, we're having this no more. We're not doing this no more. This kind of stuff doesn't happen because we might get beat.
So do you think that we're potentially this, when you say divine or kind of like the collective subconscious, where do you think that falls into with what you're proposing?
What you found,
What you found,
I don't know. Like I said, I kind of like the mystery of it. But I think if I had to choose something, that's what I would choose. People try to come up with examples of where this comes from. And, I don't really fall into the divine category. I don't think it's just probability because, like I said, some of the things are so specific about it and so much.
This is the thing for me. There's got to be a reason that someone's put that in there for some reason, for like someone like you to actually find it and then go, actually.
Well, this is why I like the Oak Island mystery, because it's like when I see these things and I see the effort that was put into hide it, keep
don't
it
put effort into something
not from common knowledge, and it's there if you need it, but or if you know where to look for it. But at the end of the day, it's not popularized and common knowledge. So it baffles me to the extent that they've gone to hide it. And you say it could be just like probability, and you can find these sort of things anywhere. But so, what examples have you found during these? So you've run this experiment, and what exactly were the Lockwood
results
books
suggesting?
Yeah, sure. Well, one of the first things I looked for was just occurrences of the name Trump, because I was like, okay, if I'm going to look for modern day Trump-esque things, how many times is Trump going to appear in here? Because that could skew my results pretty heavily. If the protagonist's name is Trump, then that can skew things. And actually, the word Trump doesn't appear that often in the novels themselves. It's only like 26 times.
Okay.
They usually refer to him as Baron or something like that. But when I searched for just like Donald Trump, in the equal distance letter sequence codes, hundreds of results came up. Hundreds and hundreds of results.
Whoa.
Donald Trump wasn't the character's name at all in the novel. So that is quite a bit of a smoking gun, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, not just one or two, like hundreds. Then that's total difference to an actual name being put into the book, like you said, 20 odd times, and then all of a sudden this name that's not even supposed to be anything to do with it, just bang, there's tons of them. Oh yeah, I'd say that would be like a big indication that look here, like a big flag going, hey, look, what's there? If you've spotted that
considering
first part.
It was the first thing you'd search for as well.
So I searched for Donald Trump first, and then I was like, okay, if I got so many of these things, I need to now narrow it down. So I looked for instances of, what was going on at the time was COVID. So I was like, all right, let's see Donald Trump and COVID, and I ended up getting 50, 75 results, and I was like, wow, there's like a lot of cases of Donald Trump and COVID all appearing together in these very tiny little spaces. Because how you work is you kind of grid the book out into matrices, and that kind of forms these little, almost like little word searches, I guess you'd call them, if you want to kind of link them to something visual in your head. Yeah. And, it would be like Donald Trump, and then,
crossing
through Donald Trump's name, it would say like COVID.
Yeah.
And then
now, why would COVID be showing up in a novel that was published in the 1800s?
I have no idea. But what's really interesting is I've searched for whatever reason, Lockwood's books tend to focus on this sort of time period. Because I searched for like other things. I was like, well, there are other historical things in there. I looked for like, World War I, World War II things. Not a lot of hits, which tells me that's just a probability thing, if there are any hits in those historical contexts. But for whatever reason, this time period of, late 20th, early 21st century, you get hits everywhere. You get a lot of Obama hits. You get a lot of Biden hits. You get a lot of COVID hits. And then when you look within COVID, you'll find a matrix that has Dr. Fauci, COVID,
no way,
cover your face.
Seriously?
Fauci.
That's
very
crazy.
And it shocked me. I was like, this is very, very specific. This isn't like Nostradamus.
It's one of those. I bet you were kind of, when you first started getting those hits, it'd be a case of like, I'd be like pacing around my living room, like kind of trying to process what I've just discovered. I mean, it's like at that point, you were the only person to, as far as you know, to find this in, this code. So
first thing I did was Google, has anyone else done this? And from what I could tell, no one had.
Right, okay.
Which I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. And then I was like, okay, let me recheck my stuff and make sure I'm not doing anything wrong.
Because that's the last thing you need, isn't it?
That's the lesson that I need. Yeah, because, there's a human error. You can definitely be in there. And once I realized that, I was like, wow. And then I just started searching for these modern things, and just time and time again they come up. George Floyd was another big one. It had George Floyd, death, riots, choked on the banks, which I thought was interesting because where he's from, it's like right on the banks of the Mississippi in that area. And then it had the cop's name, which is a very difficult name. The cop that choked him, it said, it's like this weird, it's like Shavana Hana or something like that. It's not even like a very common name. That's in there too.
Jesus.
And I'm like, that's like that. Yeah, that's mad. That's crazy. Do you still can you still get new hits today? Or can you only go through it and and you only hit on like a certain amount of numbers?
Because this is it. It sounds like, I mean, obviously, if you could keep, I mean, again, that falls into the what your sort of interpretation of it is. But like TJ's just said there, when he started doing it, he was looking at things that were going on at the time. So I'm assuming that, say, if you pick so the method should work, if you think about it, that if you were to pick a world event or a global event and try and think of that as you were doing it. I'm not saying that your thoughts might bring it into it, but do you understand what I'm saying? Like, if you were to try and look for an event rather than look for events that are kind of happening at the time, do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Like, have you tried it with other books? Let's say 120 years back then to the events now.
Not yet. I've kind of been focusing on these Lockwood books in particular.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get an understanding of how it works, because it's like, does this code sort of suggest with these particular books that could you look at another event and get a reading, or is it specifically because it seems very Trump-centric? Will it just kind of give you prophecies around Trump, or will you get more prophecies out of it, do you think?
Like, can you get the future, like next week, what's going to go on?
Yeah, and I kind of talk about that in the book, too, where I talk about how it's not really a good tool for trying to predict the future because, a year ago or 2 years ago, no one knew what COVID was. So I would never know to search for COVID. So I wouldn't know to search for COVID or coronavirus or things like that. So you're kind of limited by what's happened and how you search in that manner. Yeah. That's not to say you couldn't, if you could figure out a way. I have found some things related to President Biden that I think are kind of interesting and that I don't quite understand yet, which might lend themselves to the future. Like I said, I published this book in October, and I did put some matrices in there that did state Biden winning the election. Very specific. It said Joe Biden elected president, Kamala Harris right next to him, inauguration, pretty specific things. It talks about mail fraud in the election. Yeah. And it talks about like these very specific things, which at the time wasn't really going on. And I found them and I was like, okay, well, certain pundits were kind of talking about how the mail vote was going to affect things. So that's kind of why I started searching for those things. And, I'd come up with these hits that suggested that Biden would probably win due to the mail vote. And that's basically what happened. So that's kind of about as close as you can get as far as like predicting the future. You got to kind of know what to search for.
Because what you're doing is basically what the software. Try to look for more specific things in the past, just to kind of to see if it's more open than just kind of seems like these prophecies are quite relevant to, like I say, the last 4 years. With what's gone on with Trump, his rise to political power, George Floyd, all these kind of events have happened quite relatively recently in terms of. Obviously, the book came out when it came out. It came out a long time prior. But, I mean, I would have assumed that this would have kind of had information from the day it was produced. Am I wrong? Or?
Yeah, I would have thought the same thing, too. That's why I kind of looked for other past things in it because I did look for like World War II, World War One, things from that era, like the robber baron era and the progressive era in the United States, and not a lot of hits. Like very few, one or two, which that goes to probability.
It's weird, that
which
isn't
to me,
it? Yeah,
I got to check this. For whatever reason, these particular books seem to focus on this particular time period.
Yeah.
Why, I don't know, but you get the vast majority of the hits you get, which kind of go outside of that probability area. You know, when you get multiple hits with specific information in very small clusters, to me, that kind of knocks the probability out of it.
He's got to have,
and for whatever reason,
it's been some knowledge that this Lockwood had. He must have known.
He must have known something. He must have had something to. Yeah, he's got something there. There must have been something there to be able to predict on what's actually foretold in the book. That
because this is the thing, isn't it? Because most prophecies are like, Baba Yaga or Nostradamus. They prophesize, and you see it every year. Or prophecies for this year from Nostradamus, and I'm assuming just kind of threw out prophecies left, right, and centre. Whereas to be so focused, it seems like the author must have had some specific information of this time period. Do you know what I mean? Where they couldn't have, there's no other explanation for it, in my opinion.
Yeah, because like you said, it's not vague at all. Like, for example, the George Floyd example. Here are the words that I found in the chart, I guess you'd say. It says George Floyd, death, knee, neck, which that's how he died, the knee on his neck. And then it says cries mama, which that was what he did before he died. He cried out to his mother. And then it says riot, which is what basically formed right after that. All of these riots in the United States, all over.
Can you work the pattern on the lineup of where the words go? Like, is the first word in the left corner, the second word in the right corner, the third one and the second line down? Can you ascertain what the actual verse is going to be, instead of it being, there's a word up there, a word down there, a word over here?
Is it muddled up and you have to make sense of those words, or does it come out in a straight sentence? Yeah.
No, they're pretty clustered. I kind of give an example. You guys can see me. You probably can't listen though. They're sort of bubbled.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So then it's down to you to put the to find out what's going on outside and then put
interpret it.
Sometimes there'll be a straight sentence. Sometimes they're kind of broken up, and you got to kind of.
I think when there's certain words that come into it, like you say COVID and George Floyd and the name of the police officer or whatever, I think then sometimes it must just scream out at you. Surely, when you're looking at these random words and you can kind of see this sentence.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of freaks you out, really, when you see it, because the words themselves, like I said, are very specific. The order that they come in, it can be jumbled and things like that. But I'll see if I could show you guys another example here. Are you guys able to see my screen?
I can, yeah. We can see.
Yeah.
This will probably help clear things up. But then for your listeners, go to my website, lockwoodcode.com. All the codes are on there. You can download them for free, or you can check them out in the book.
I was going to ask, because you actually have the software on the website as well, don't you?
I do, yeah. And I kind of want people to do this, because I think there's a lot more to be found. I really do.
If there's a bit been found, there's got to be a lot more out there in a lot more different kind of books, even books that we probably wouldn't even consider to be.
Well, I know what Taylor's going to be doing this weekend anyway.
Do you know?
Right, okay. So.
But,
right,
yeah,
okay.
What we're looking at here is, this is just kind of an example to give you an idea of what you do is you put the books into a software program. I use a program called Skip Trace. And basically what it does is it removes all the spaces, all the punctuation, and you tell it to search for a certain word. In this case, I asked for it to search for the word COVID.
Right.
And I asked for it to search for COVID in what's called a 50. I think in this case it was a 30 by 30 matrix. What that means is 30 letters across, 30 letters down.
Yeah.
And it finds COVID. And then once I'm in that thing, I start searching for other things within that matrix, almost like a word search. I'm not looking for words. And in this particular one, it's COVID going straight up and down. And then across from it, you see X, I, X. And this is the skip trace here where it's X. It skips 1, 2, I, 1, 2, X. That's the Roman numeral for 19. So you have COVID, 19.
Yeah.
And then right here you have death, Trump, and then Rob.
Yeah, I've just found loads of words here.
Yeah, you can find more and more and more. I just highlight sort of the...
Oh, yeah.
What I think was interesting. Because this is the text of the novel that you're seeing, just without any spaces or punctuation.
Yeah.
And what was interesting about this one in particular is Rob Trump was Trump's brother who died.
Yes.
When Rob Trump died, they weren't very specific with how he died. They were kind of very wishy-washy. Like they're like, oh, the president's brother passed away. And then the press were kind of pushed to be like, hey, okay, how did he die? And they're like, well, we're not going to get into that. Later, it came out that he died of some kind of brain hemorrhage thing or something like that. But I kind of had this conspiracy, like, I bet he died of COVID-19. Everyone else is dying of.
Well, people are, yeah.
He's in his 70s and things like that. So that's kind of why I searched for this one in particular, and I found, Rob Trump. You got Trump and then Rob kind of going through it.
Yeah.
Right here, and then death, and then COVID-19. Now, did he die of COVID-19? I don't know, but it's kind of interesting that it's in there.
Yeah.
Another example here, you have, there's another COVID. Here you see Fauci, starting with an F, A, U, I. Dr. Fauci.
There's Dr. Fauci.
Yeah. NIH, which is the National Institute of Health. That's where he's from. That's what he upholds.
Yeah.
And then you have stay home. Now, you can see the skip in these is kind of weird. They look a little funny for those of you that can't see it. It's not just like straight across like the other ones. It's sort of staggered.
In between, yeah.
How you get the skip code in this equidistance is if you start at this S, you go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then up 1, 2, 3.
So it's the software that selected all these letters in terms of.
I search for the letters; it finds them if they're in there.
Okay.
So in this case, I searched for COVID.
Yeah, so you're giving it a key phrase to search for, and it'll look in that text to see if it can find the.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then when you see it's got a pattern there is something to question. Because you don't get
I suppose.
I mean,
it's a prediction, I suppose, isn't it? Or kind of, or gives some sort of credence to the experiment, I suppose.
Because if you'd see that, then you would think that isn't normal.
Because these are it's very small section, as you can see. It's not a very big portion of the text, and there's a lot of very specific information. Dr. Fauci, COVID, NIH. NIH, that's only 3 letters, so that in itself isn't very impressive. But when you combine it with all of these other things, like Fauci, COVID, stay home, that's his mantra: stay home, stay home, stay home. Yeah, things get crazier and crazier and crazier. This one's probably a little hard to see, but this is just another example where it's like it says Dr. Fauci, physician, COVID, cover face, doctor, wear mask, like all of these things. Obviously, the bigger you make the matrix, the more hits you get.
Yeah.
So to me, I try to stay 50 and under. That really limits the probability of it just being random. Because obviously, if I make a 1,000 letter by 1,000 letter matrix, I'm going to find all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah. You can find the world history in there somewhere.
I mean, it's
where
very
it gets interesting is when you
codes.
Tighten it up.
Yeah, exactly. When you're being specific and you're asking it to search for certain words in a small grid pattern, then it starts getting a bit less out of the realms of coincidence, I suppose.
Right. Yeah.
See that one. That one's got some big words in there as well.
Yeah. Now some of them are actually within the text itself. So So, for example, you can see out here it says the president right here. That's actually from the novel because, like I said, this is just the words of the book with all the spaces and punctuation taken out. And that's kind of, I'll use those two because that's kind of how they form together. And sometimes that section of the novel will mean something that kind of relates to these words that are sticking out as well, to kind of give some examples. This one in particular talks about President Biden's a slaughter, a death, and
army.
I
was going to say, death, army, and slaughter.
In terms
this
of...
could be a couple of things. This is one of the ones where I was talking about where it's like I'm not particularly 100% sure. This could be something that might happen in the future. This could slightly be alluding to the Capitol riots. There is still an army presence at the Capitol to this day.
And there was deaths as well.
There was
the first woman in there who attempted to get in. She died.
Slaughter. So it could be alluding to that. It could be something in the future that's possibly going to happen later down the road. So sometimes you do kind of have to. This is a perfect example of, am I imprinting things on these things that I'm finding? Because these things are obviously here. There's no question they're here. The question then becomes, what does it mean? So there are vague cases, and this is a good example of it. Of I got to figure out what this one means. This one isn't as specific as some of the others.
Have you tried to kind of? You see, I try and trick my own mind when I was doing this, or try and, trip it up, because obviously your psyche's playing into this as well when you're selecting phrases and words to search for during the software when that's running. So, I mean, I'd be kind of tempted to try and make something up and try and search if that I could get something out of it off a made-up story, or
something that you think is going to happen in the future. Like,
well, no, not necessarily something that was potentially like not even true, but like I try just nonsense.
Case.
Like exactly. That is exactly what I'm trying to say. And have you tried stuff like that? I mean, what were your results if so? Because I mean, I'm not questioning the legitimacy of what you found. I'm just, I'm just trying to understand how the process of it and how you can you go looking for these certain kind of things. So like you were saying, you've gone in, you thought, right, I'm going to look in this grid pattern and find COVID, for instance, and it crops up. So, I mean, obviously there's you've picked that because it's a relevant current affairs thing, yeah. Like, and
well, you could have picked plague, and it could have picked.
Exactly. I mean, firstly, variations of what you're searching for to see if like language factors into it. You've just said Taylor's just said there about, like, say, searching plague rather than COVID, or different things like that.
And not only that, language has changed over the time period as well, as in certain words mean something now than it meant actually something else back then. If you,
I get
the way they've added an E or taken an E off, or we put this in front of this, or we're going to change this to a vowel or whatever. There's always been some changes gone through, but it does. It is kind of weird thing. No, you have stumbled upon something that's there's something there without a shadow of a doubt.
I find it more. I think the whole kind of idea that these novels were written so long ago, and they've got so much kind of similarities towards what's going on today, as well as these bits that you're finding. And, things that do kind of suggest they knew a bit more, or he knew a little bit more than what was going on in today's modern age. It is too much of a coincidence, I'll give you that. Yeah. And, I mean, I'd like to have a go on... you say that, you're quite happy for people to try and replicate the results themselves.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I have the program on there is free. You can download it. That's at lockwoodcode.com. And I also include the books in the format you need to put them into the software and do your own searching.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can put any book you want in there, really, and load it up.
Yeah,
But,
that'd be interesting to see if
have you had any interesting
see.
hits off any other books, or I mean, I know you say you're quite focused on these ones, but have you kind of looked into any of the other classic? George Orwell's 1984 springs to mind for some reason.
That'd be a good one.
To be honest, because of the way society's going.
Yeah,
but
that's
like,
a good call, that.
I think, to be honest, it's like I love the concept and I love code breaking, and I'm loving like the fact that you've seen something within this, you know, and done the investigating. I mean, what's next for you in terms of this? I mean, are you going to keep searching this code to try and find more current events going on, or future events that, and even if you were to try and get stuff out of it and, kind of try and interpret it in the future?
Yeah, I mean, recently I thought it would be interesting to actually try these ELS codes with Trump's book he wrote, The Art of the Deal.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And see if I could find any kind of links to it in that, because, the whole theory that he's, a quote-unquote a time traveler, if he would have links to it or anything like that. I've found some interesting things I don't want to kind of go public with yet, but that's kind of what I've been doing recently.
Excellent.
I am interested in doing it with other works, for sure. I've kind of picked a couple. Like I said, it's fun to kind of try it with there's certain books that kind of, sort of become standards. So, the classical standards that kind of relate to everybody. And those seem to be the ones that are kind of interesting to me.
That's an interesting
as well to
one,
try them in.
Actually, like you said, you had a look at the Bible. Any other old books that have been around for a long, long time? Would you be interested in having a look at them ones? Because these books are old for this information, but I wonder if even older books, like the old stories like Wonder.
Well, no, because this is the thing. Is it all books that this works on, or is it a case of that there's something special about these three, and the Bible, and these, because, like you say before, these code breakers were looking into it. Anything of notabilities really, or ever been stuff like Shakespeare or the Bible. Obviously, you've discovered this, and it's notable. It's relevant. It's got like something that's happening right now, and it's bizarre because of the time difference. So I'm not convinced that you would get as kind of accurate results. It's like you were saying earlier about kind of putting in phrases and words and getting 0 or very minimal hits. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, it kind of goes to probability. And you also have to keep in mind translation, too. Most of the Bible code crackers, they do all their searching in Hebrew.
Yeah.
And then you run into the question of translation, where it's, especially with Hebrew, certain words can mean very different things when you translate it to English, which then can affect the so-called prediction. So you do have to be careful with things like that, especially the further back you go.
I was just looking at the thing you sent, and another thing that just jumped out at me, there's a word in there that's right in the middle, and it does actually equate to Trump. Porn star.
I saw one on the other one, Biden, and it said death at the bottom, but right next to it said my death.
Yeah, you'll find all kinds of crazy things, and then you got to kind of filter out the nonsense from the relevance. So there is sort of there could be a bias of who's looking at it. Absolutely, like I'm gonna bring all my personal biases and things and view it from that lens. Where I'm gonna, I could have added porn star in there.
Of course, yeah.
So it depends on who's looking at it. Absolutely.
Well, no, I mean, I totally get where you're coming from, because obviously you're looking for it, from one perspective, and like you say, trying to keep your biases out. This is me. You see, I'd be like tempted to just be looking for all types of stuff, like you say.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of people would, though, wouldn't they, really?
Oh, yeah.
So you say you've got some more projects coming out in the near future?
Yeah, I'm working on some things. Like I said, I'm searching kind of similar to the ELS codes and looking in different books and kind of trying to find, like, I'm really fascinated with this idea of, like we talked about earlier, of this collective unconscious and sort of exploring why these things are here. I mean, there's no question they're there. Like, that's solved.
Not,
like, they're there. That's not the question. The question is, okay, why are they there? And that's kind of what I'm exploring going down the road. Like, is it random? Is it prophecy? Is it this collective unconscious? Is it, like Elon Musk is talking recently about this sort of simulation world that we might be living in? Is it, if you're familiar with computer coding,
well, didn't they say that they found? I think it was. I can't remember. It was another physicist who said they found binary coding. When you get to the fundamental levels, it was almost like a computer patcher.
Tyson.
Was it Neil? Was it? I'm pretty sure it might have been
he had
someone else.
A foray where they had a load of people discussing, are we actually in the Matrix or not? And he basically fundamentally said that as they've gone further and further down to actually have a look to see the furthest he can, they calculate that they reckon it's binary numbers at the bottom, basically.
Well, this is what I'm getting at. They were saying that it was almost like computer patching. So if you were to get a patch on a system, they were finding code that was linked to other code that shouldn't be, and it starts boggling the mind. I mean, in terms of the way I see it, it's like your brain's this supposedly the most advanced computer, and it's all about perception and, like you say, collective consciousness. And when light, I think it's all got to do with light and frequencies, and when that light is comes into your eyes and you can kind of make sense of it and your brain translates that, then that's the simulation. I mean, you're simulating everything just by observing it, aren't you?
Thinking it.
Oh, this is another topic entirely.
It gets creepy. It really gets creepy. And I do think there's something to that, though, because there are these sort of shared experiences that go beyond culture. Like, we all have these similar dreams.
Well, instincts as well,
we all have instincts, and as a species, we don't really make a lot of sense. Like, we're the dominant species, but we're also very weak when we're born.
Yeah, I don't think we use our abilities enough. I think we've been sort of processed to follow the route of earning money, getting on through life, and not actually being able to understand and experience the way life should be, or
It's true how kind of all the great thinkers. I'd say there was just because there was less distractions. There was and nowadays we're all kind of tired from
busy. You got to be busy all the time,
and it's like you get less time to kind of ponder and try. And when you do, it's just too much. There's too much going on, and you just think,
totally.
A lot of distractions these days. We're always staring at a screen of some kind. Yeah. And you just don't have time to just sit and just think, philosophize, and just chill out.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, we try and make time. Well,
that's it.
Well, we'd love to get you back on when you finished your next project. It's been amazing talking to you tonight. Thanks for sharing your findings. Is there anything else that you want to kind of finish off with, or?
No, like I said, the book is out. You can get it, anywhere you get books, online. Amazon's probably the best place to get it. And it's it's a nice big book. It's got a lot of pictures, things like that. It explains a lot of great things. And like I said, lockwoodcode.com. You can download the software for free. I got all the codes on there for free, so you could check my work and say, okay, this guy's legit. He's not full of crap.
I'm going to be having a go this weekend. Yeah, excellent. Well, cheers, TJ. Thanks for coming on the show. Hopefully we'll catch you again. Take care.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot. Thanks again, TJ, for coming on the show and talking to us about the Lockwood Code. I mean, you've got to agree, it's quite a fascinating topic. I mean, whether you believe it or not, I think it's just using those code techniques to kind of find that much coincidence and those many similarities. I mean, like I said, I think the fact that those books of Baron Trump even exist and are so coincidentally and relate so much to the situation as it is anyway, then it doesn't kind of. I mean, if why you even need to look for any more hidden codes within that is kind of like, well, but the fact that he's found some stuff is quite mind blowing. So. Yeah,
it's looking forward to seeing what he's saying about the future of it as well.
Oh, of course, yeah, and all the kind of subconscious and kind of collective subconscious stuff's really interesting as well. So hopefully, we'll see TJ again on the show, and he can fill us in all about that. Well, thanks again. So again, Taylor,
yes,
I believe that you've got another clue for us.
I have indeedy.
Ooh, and the clue I'm looking forward to it because I don't have a clue myself what this is. So before it was the clue before was it'll keep you warm. It's warm.
Yeah. Keep you warm. Keep you nice and warm.
It'll keep you nice and warm. Right. Okay. Yeah. So the new clue, very nice, please. And warm and cozy.
Yes. The second clue is the law says you need to have it, but some people would rather not.
Oh. Okay. The law says you have to have it.
You have to have it, but some people would rather not.
And it keeps you warm.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, you've boggled my head. Do you know what this is a whole episode? Are you all conspiring against me tonight with you baffling me?
Bang, you're up, bang on.
There you go. You know what I mean? Plotting.
Well, yeah.
Right, okay. Well, if you grasp that, so what was it? Yeah. The police. So it's illegal. Not. Go on, say that again. Yeah, just give for the viewers at home, listeners at home.
The second part is the law says you need to have, but some people would rather not.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Right.
It's well, it's going to be a good one this week.
As people ponder that, we've looked high and low for the week's greatest news. The best news. It's simply the best news. It's the greatest news that we could find. And here we go.
Here we go.
It's the news. It is indeed. It's this week's news, NASA news.
It is.
And like I said, we've scoured the interweb to try and find you the best headlines and crazy news stories that we could find that's happening on this planet and beyond this week. And we found quite a few, as usual, do you know what I mean? We've always got plenty to talk about. Now, we have been talking about Antarctica a lot recently.
Yeah.
And I found this story, which I thought was amazing. Yeah, because do you know what, right? I've lost my wallet before. Yeah. Yeah. And I wonder, will it ever show up? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's out there, somebody's found it, or it's just gone. Do you know what I mean? Well, a wallet lost in Antarctica has turned up in California 53 years later.
What, it travelled all the way from Antarctica to America?
Well, that's it. It must have. Well, Paul Grisham forgot he'd lost it until rediscovering it during a demolition work.
Hold on, he forgot he lost it?
Well, yeah, because, you lose things.
He lost his most important document.
Forget, man. He's forgot. He's forgot he's lost his wallet. Do you know what I mean? This was time ago. It's 53 years ago. You'd forget. Do you remember that time you lost your wallet? Yeah. Yeah, I actually forgot about that. Yeah, but how many is it that much of a unless it caused you unknown grief? Yeah, the fact that you lost your wallet.
Of course.
After the aftermath.
His ID's been taken away.
And what's that? Got to go and ring up the fucking post office and get a new. And it's not even the case of that he had to ring up the bank. It was 53 years ago. Do you know what I mean? There's no online banking or bank cards. It was just literally a photo of his sweetheart. Yeah.
Is that it?
Well, there was probably more to it than that. If we look into it, I'm pretty sure that there was more than likely ID and whatnot.
That's the message in the bottle.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what do you reckon to it though? Do you think like you'd be happy if your wallet had shown up?
Yeah. I just can't believe he forgot he lost his wallet. I can't believe that sentence has even been put in there.
What?
To me, that is, he couldn't remember losing his wallet when back in that in them days. Your wallet would have been like one of your prized possessions.
Well, he said he was blown away. Paul Grisham said to the San Diego Union Tribunal or Tribune after the wallet was returned on Saturday, there was a long series of people involved who tracked me down. Ran him down, mate. They tried to find him. The wallet contained his Navy ID card, driving license, a pocket reference card, and what else? Something what to do in a biochemical attack. A beer ration punch card with a tax withholding statement and a money order to send to his wife.
See?
So there you go.
You know what I mean? His wife knows he's lost his fucking wallet.
I bet she was pissed with him. She was like, I didn't get me fucking money that week. I remember that week.
The last couple of days.
Yeah.
Rations. What did he do?
I'm glad it showed up for him. Just, you know what I mean? But the fact that it's like, you know, it's such a barren place and it's like snowing all the time. It's amazing that it actually showed up at all. So well done. Gives hope to us all, doesn't it? Really? Yeah, if you lose your keys or you lose your wallet.
Yeah. So It's just one of them, that line's just got me, you know what I mean? It's like, how can you forget to lose?
I forgot I lost it.
I forgot my house was here. It's gone now.
People forget stuff.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It's one of them that, like...
He might have been, you know, I'm not trying to make reasons why he forgot. He forgot.
No.
If you can't fathom, you know, this is a man who believes in aliens and conspiracy theories, and he can't grasp.
Yeah, because it's an important
that some people
can't of your life.
Who forget that they lost the wallet.
It's such an arm or a leg to your life back then. This is the thing that
it still is, really. It's like losing your phone.
It's just a line that, you know,
it's like losing your phone.
Did.
But like I've had phones that I'd probably be like, I've probably forgot having that phone, and I would have had that phone for a long period of time. It would have been in my life prominently. Yeah. And I forgot I had that. I found phones in the house. I found phones in the house from 5 years ago and thought, bloody hell, I forgot I had that. So let's agree to disagree on that one.
Let's move on.
So, anything you've seen in the news this week that you'd love to talk about?
The man's back.
Which man?
Donald. Mr. Trump is back on social media. Yeah, and he's loving
away.
And he's already tweeted.
I'm back, baby.
They were right. Those who were supporting him being tweeted off was like right wing.
Well,
but I expected that anyway. To be honest,
he's already kind of set up an office, hasn't he, to carry on his political platform, if you like.
Yeah, and apparently he's enjoyed not having the social media.
Well, there you go. It does actually get good. It's a nice idea. I was going to go, it is good. Yeah, right. Yeah. It's a good idea, to have a break from social media every now and again, is what I was going to say.
Yeah. I think
so. Even though he was banned, it's probably done him a bit of good, and he's probably just been like, you know, tweeting him, just saying out phrases to himself.
Yeah,
and realised, is that, you know, and now
but the thing is, if he's but the thing is, if he isn't doing that with his hands, what's his hands doing?
Who knows? At least he's not got no buttons to push anymore. Well, there you go. Well, that's the best bit about it.
Keep him pressing them buttons, and you don't have to press any other buttons.
Your finger is on the button. Hey, well, I've got... So he's back.
So he's back, he's on media, so expect the return of listening about Mr. Donald Trump.
Well, you know what? Who's been making? I think he's been just doing these parts to be stepping in for Donald recently. Ted Cruz. He's just been throwing out loads of mad tweets recently. So I don't know.
He's getting on the bandwagon now. Like, no doubt when he goes, someone else will try and get in the bandwagon. And it's a case of, who's the most popular politician.
Imagine this. Yeah, right. So Jamaica faces a marijuana shortage.
Fuck off.
It's serious.
Oh shit!
It's serious, man. It's a serious matter. This is out of AP News sources. This is the article I read in. Heavy rains have basically ruined scuppered some of the crops, which has caused a shortage on the island. obviously, it's
been a lot of storms over there lately.
Well, obviously, Jamaica's has a bit of a kind of an association with it, doesn't it? With sort of reggae and Rastafarians and all, that sort of thing.
2 years ago?
What?
2 years ago, when America was, starting to open up more, and other countries were talking about it, the actual government of Jamaica decided to buy more land of their own land.
Because, I mean, it says here, people caught with 2 ounces or 56 grams or less of cannabis are supposed to have to pay a small fine.
Yeah, because it's
face no arrest or criminal record.
Yeah, but if the majority of the country could make that, and
like I say, it's synonymous with the country, so I would have thought it was legal there. But the fact that
to a certain degree, it's decriminalised; it's not legal.
So, well, no, but they're saying if you're caught with anything, basically, because 2 ounces or less is anything. Do you know what I mean? That's 0 to 56 grams. And anything more, you're going to not just get a fine, you're going to get arrested and potentially a criminal record.
Under religious purposes as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I wonder
you could walk around and
how much of it is obviously...
I think some aspect. I think it's one of them. It's like it's not bothering anyone. If it was, starting to destroy social, economic areas, then fair enough. Then
it's
they
about
have to step in.
18,000. Some farmers are losing more than $18,000 in recent months. And that's about £300 compared with the average £700 or £800 a group normally produces.
So it's just a weather thing, really. So I think they need to start, as money starts rolling in a little bit, put a bit aside in case these things, because they will happen again.
I just got that. What's it from Mary Poppins? The put it in the bank, save your pennies. The song just popped in my head. I don't know why. So I do apologise.
They need to reinvest. I think they need to reinvest.
Save your pennies, to make sure kids.
That they don't have this again.
Well,
and they'll be right.
Anything else that's cropped your interest, piqued your interest? Cropped up or piqued your interest even?
Yeah.
Go on.
Stonehenge.
I love the place. Lovely place. What, they put building flats?
Right. No, they're building a tunnel, aren't they? They're building a tunnel.
What?
Yeah. The A103, I think it's called.
Oh, right. So wait a minute. So, this is a road extension tunnel.
Yeah.
And they're building it, and they're worried that it's going to affect Stonehenge structurally, or...
No. The thing is, they've started doing the digging in that, and they found even more stuff, more bones.
Yeah, mate, there's even more henge over here. We didn't even realise. It's loads of it. No way, so they found
more stuff
there. You go, you see, it is a special bit of land, that.
It is, and if you think about it, it was only, about 5 years ago, they found the extension of it. There was a line of stones going off to another little circle.
If you go there, it's really cool because they've actually got a historically accurate settlement there as well. And it's really, you can kind of have a look around how people used to live around the henge.
Yeah,
it's really nice. It does feel like you do feel the vibes, man. It's got a.
But
should we do an episode?
Should we do an episode there in the first place? Yeah.
The thing is, the motorway's quite far away. I mean, to get a really good look, I do recommend you take up the National Heritage.
But the thing is,
it's all right.
You're still going over things that you
that motorway could be going over other things that could have been adjacent to the henge, is what you're saying. That bit of road already. You know what I mean? But it's one of them. It's like
I've actually closed it off for a mile.
What, just to check?
Get people to walk there. Put the effort.
No, it is. It is. You can't really get. You can't. Basically, you can't really get there.
You can't stand there now. Yeah,
you've got. It takes a while to be able to get actually to the site in a car. Yeah, so it's like and I'm pretty sure they've done the research into where it was all right to put a road. So. It's National Heritage land, so they've got to kind of take it all really seriously.
Yeah, but they found more stuff under the road. That
the sites. That's only because they've started thinking we want to excavate here, and it was never thought of to look in that area, but it was still part of the heritage land, and it was untouched. But now they've made a discovery, so I'd assume that they'd say, you can't build your tunnel.
Well, yeah, this is going to be the discussion at the meetings, I reckon. That
getting in the meetings.
Do we turn it this way or that way? But it was already suggested that you're going to pick up certain things anyway, so you might as well not do it.
Oh, true.
You know what I mean? So it's one of them. It's an ongoing argument.
Here's an argument for you. How much do you reckon you'd pay for a cow?
A cow?
Yeah. Average, a cow.
An average cow.
An average cow. Just whatever you want.
I want a brown cow, please.
You can have a brown cow.
This can have little horns on it.
That's a little bull.
Oh,
and you talk enough of that, son. So what do you want to do? Right. So a little cow. There's a cow here. I love what it's called as well. 20 grand. How about £262,000?
Whoa! What is it? Fucking hell!
A cow named Posh Spice has become the world's most expensive heifer after selling for that much. Selling for 262,000. What's so special about Posh Spice? Apart
from your breeder.
Well, a cow named Posh Spice or Posh Spice has broken a world record after being sold for a record amount. She's bred, she's a bred heifer in a farm, Lodge Hill Farms in Shropshire. Right. Was sold at an auction for double the price of the previous best breed, which was 131,250 back in 2014.
Must be something special about this effort.
They just said they never expected, to make that much.
There was
nothing really. As far as they could see, it was just like a pretty cow. Do you know what I mean? It was just a good specimen of a cow. I assume they were overwhelmed with the bidding, and they were delighted. That it had such a fantastic result. You would, wouldn't you? Well, if that's your business, I mean, that's like saying, oh, this guy sells cars. He sold the car today. Well done.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm more amazed at the fact that it went for that much. I mean, I'm not too thrilled about I'm not exactly thrilled for the guys, because it's like, well, what did you do? You surprised yourselves and sold the cow for that much. And it was like, something's only worth... You
grabbed it with two hands.
What you're willing to pay for it, isn't it, really? So, it's a
funny
that's story.
It.
But I was just like, why would you pay? And I love the fact it's called Posh Spice.
Yeah. Just don't tell
anyway. Beckham. I found this other story as well. This was quite crazy. Yeah, right. Yeah. And I mean, we've all been there. Yeah. Had a dispute with the neighbour.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for rather noise or something like that. Yeah, right. Or you turn your music off and then they just turn it up.
Yeah, having a wild party till 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, yeah, mate, I've had it. Well, this guy, this happened in Pennsylvania. 3 neighbours dead after fighting over snow shoveling.
What the
So
fuck?
I don't know if they just didn't want to do it. One said you've not shoveled your snow, and it's just caused into a row. But just before 9 a.m. on Monday, officers responded to a report of basically a disturbance where the 3 neighbours were on the street at the front of their homes and got into an altercation. Ended up with 3 people, basically all 3 of these neighbours in the argument dead.
Shot, stabs, whacked.
I'm just trying to find it here, actually, because, I mean, I should be a bit more prepared, really, shouldn't I?
It's a bit over the top.
It was a gunshot. So basically, they said a gunshot rang out. The official said inside the house. So it looks like it's gone into the house.
Yeah.
So what's it? Inside the house, police found the 47-year-old James, disappeared from his apartment with self-inflicted gunshot wounds. So it looks like he's done a
suicide after he did it.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is the thing, how fast these things can escalate. I know, sorry, I mean, it's a bit of a shocking story, to be honest, but it's one of those things that it's like I say, we've all been there in these situations where we've had an argument with a neighbour and things get out of control. And as something as simple as shoveling snow, do you know what I mean? Must have been hit up. And then I think it probably comes down to...
underlying pressures, I would imagine.
Well, it's probably the fact that people in neighbourhoods are under the feet a lot more Do you know what I mean? At the minute, because there's a lot of people at home. Yeah,
stressing you can't go anywhere when you get the chance to do it. Why you move my snow?
I can't. In terms of in the UK, we've got a lot of estates that are really people are literally on top of each other in flats. And it's like the amount of kind of square footage you get isn't very much. You know, so you do kind of like come to frictions with sometimes with your neighbours, and you know, it's like I can understand. And I think, well, in these sort of situations, it's going to be like a bit kind of heightened. So, you know,
most definitely.
If something's bugging you about one of your neighbours, just kind of try and avoid it. To be honest, unless it's getting to the point where it's harassment, then they obviously take the steps that are necessary, but in the legal approach, I suppose. But don't ever end up like these chumps.
No, because it could always happen. Don't think you can.
So, anything else you've clocked?
Yes. Spies.
Spies?
Yeah, they're in your house as we're speaking.
They're not in my house.
Little children.
Little bastard kids.
Used,
they are.
I read this. Going to be used as spies.
Yeah, little spy kids. Not the movie.
It's even worse in Scotland.
It sounds really Orwellian because, in fact, in 1984 they did that. I mean, there was like the grassing brigade, like sort of Hitler Youth types.
Who that's it.
Who were like dobbing the parents if they were doing something that wasn't deemed, it's anti-government or whatever. Do you know, like or anti-establishment? So it's quite weird that. So who's putting this in, and what is this? Just something that's a concept that they've been kicking around the office, or is this something that it's actually going to come in
Parliament next week?
Bullshit, mate. I think they'll throw it out.
Labour are up for it, so Conservatives are up for it because they put it through. I don't know what the Lib Dems are saying about it.
So what are they giving the kids? A free Xbox. It's like he's going to be like, do you want an Xbox or a PlayStation 5?
Well,
it'll be like grass on your mum.
They're going to have to do something
cheating
like
benefits.
That. But the kids can even break the law. The kids can break the law to get the evidence. So how do you mean? So what do you mean by break the law? What can they do? Yeah. Let's say I thieve your car. I'm a kid in the house. I thieve the car keys and hide them because I don't want you to leave because I know you're going to go off and do something.
Ah, right, okay, like break COVID rules. Is that what it is? Is that like, so if you think, so in terms of like lockdown restrictions at the moment, you're saying that, say if mum and dad were off to go and chill with the cousin, the uncles or whoever, and like have a socialise in another person's house, and the kids stole the car keys, or even stole the car, to stop the parents
and
doing
they will
it.
Get away with this.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
It's even worse in Scotland. In Britain,
watch what happens when one of the politicians' cars when they get dogged in.
The politician's going to get fucking done over.
No, you know what I mean? Everything that they will say, they'll be all nice and squeaky clean.
Yeah, but if you investigate a politician, it all suddenly goes away as well. But in Scotland, it's worse because in Scotland, even if the parents talk about things they're not happy about the government, they can be grassed up on, and the parents can be arrested and charged for it. But in England, that isn't in.
I'll just listen. Right, this is one thing you just say to your kids. It's like, look, if you're going to be a little bastard, you're grounded for life. Do you know what I mean? It's like you're going to dob me in. Yeah. Oh, don't have any. That's another good, superb option there.
Yeah. We'll be fucked in a nursing home in years to come.
Oh, these people are paid to do that. Do you know what I mean? People go on about how, like, you know, in the nursing homes, but it's like how many people are actually there doing the business? Do you know what I mean? It's like they're sat at home going, she's all right, she's in the nursing home. Do you know what I mean? It's like they're not there making a tea and coffee and tucking her in for countdown, are they? They're like,
well, yeah, in a nursing home they will be doing.
No, because they work there. That's what I'm saying, and they do genuinely care.
Yeah, but you need the people.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's not the people who put them in the nursing home, is it? Generally, do you know, like down in Florida?
Oh yeah, fucking hell. Right. Yeah, it'd be nice in Florida Keys. But also, there's a new law that's been put in that's unlawful. there's a law that's been put into the case of if the police can have a look at your medical records. It never went to Parliament. It never got argued against. It was just put in, so it makes it unlawful and unright. And plus, when you sign in England, when you sign the document with your doctors to say that you can put your information on the computer, a part of that says that that they can't give it to a third party, which the police would be the third party. So that makes it unlawful as well.
Oh, it's funny actually because I've got
kind of lawsuit going on there.
I've got a story here
like, fuck now.
Talking about personal data, but in terms of genetically, because do you know the site 23andMe?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of always bothered me. Like they go, just send us a sample of your DNA, and it's like, yeah, really? I don't really fancy doing that. I don't really want someone having my DNA on file. Which I'm sure doctors' surgeries and whatnot have that. But, I don't want just any Tom, Dick or Harry.
Every kid that's born now has to have an actual DNA sample.
I mean, 23andMe, they're actually a genetics testing company, aren't they? They're doing a merge, right? And the the genome that you sent over to 23andMe now belongs to Richard Branson. Funny enough. Yeah. So the genetics testing company 23andMe are merging with the Virgin Group later this year, and they'll be going public with it. Or they have done. They must have, because we know about it. Go on, what?
Oh, yeah. But the question is, what are they going to do with it? What are they going to do with all that genetic
I got your
data?
DNA.
What can you do with it? Think about it. What can you do with that DNA?
There's another one, Heritage, Summit Heritage, and I read that the Mormons own that one. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because they want to do some big savior thing. I think we've talked about it on the show, but there is more to it than that. I don't want to go into it now.
No.
But I thought it's quite interesting that why Virgin Group have invested. Maybe they just find it. I think it's an interesting field to go into.
I think they're thinking for the future.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, space travel and genetics are big future industries. I assume. See what happens. He's a bit of a case.
Oh yeah,
that's on Vice.com if you want to check that out. Yeah, have you seen this? A new experiment could prove a wild quantum theory of time.
Right.
Yeah, man, it's the secret of tiny localized time variations possibly caused by neutrinos. The theory is a bit far out, but the findings will definitely help other scientists. So it's by a physicist, Jonah Vaccaro. Vaccaro's been open to this kind of different theories of time travel and stuff like that, and says what's going on when time passes, that depends on who you ask, but the passage of time is still a pretty big mystery. For people, time flows in what seems like one direction, from the past to the future or the present. Physicists generally explain this as time flow from lower into higher epoch of or disorder. So he says that he uses the sort of analogy of a tree blowing in the wind. Whilst the leaves may appear to be shaking the tree, they ain't responding to the motion themselves, or as a result of another force, the wind. In this new theory, the wind is created by time reversal. So he's basically saying that it's time's not a straight flowing line. It could actually be
and twisted around.
Well, yeah, it's like we're looking at it as a wave. Are we the shaking tree, or are we the wind? Do you know what I mean? It's an interesting one. Like, what's shaking the leaf? Is it the wind or me shaking the tree? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So he's got a kind of
you being here or time being here that makes you here.
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting one. I'll link it up because do you know what? It's a bit of a kind of a long-winded one, but I thought it was worth a mention. Definitely. Other than that, I've got a few kind of NASA news stories. China's space probe sent back the first images of Mars recently. Mars is about to be the centre of an extraordinary space race again, to be fair, isn't it?
Yeah, it's getting sort of ridiculous, because I've got one here with the UAE that want... they've sent a probe there and want to be the first Arab space mission and the 5th country to ever reach the Red Planet.
It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, like, what, have a human set foot on it?
Well, no, they've sent a probe first, like everyone else.
Yeah, but we've all got a probe.
They will.
So they want to be the first foot on Mars, basically, don't they? Yeah.
You're waiting for America or China or Russia, which is more than likely it's going to be either China or Russia who are going to attempt it the most first, because the governments have less about their own people, so they can, you know what I mean? So they're more likely to be the first ones to actually try it with human beings. I think America and England and Europe and that will do robots first for a little while, and then actually because
you've got to, haven't you?
The robots.
You've got
as
to.
well,
I mean, it's like everyone's like, "Oh, why have we not made so much advancements in space travel?" And it's like, well, because we've not had the technology that good. Also, you know, you send up as much drone and you know, probe action as you can, don't you, to get as much information to see if we'll survive up there.
But the thing is, we don't want to have what's happened around Earth with all the rubbish around our Earth. We still need to deal with all that yet. But in another way, it is a security blanket for anything that comes towards us, as like meteorites or like a spacecraft.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a kind of defense mechanism in a way at the moment. But then, you know, it's one of them that like, everyone wants to get to Mars. I
knew this. We talked about this. We knew this was going to happen. We knew that there was going to be this rush, and now you can see it happening. You can see everyone pushing. Obviously, Musk put up a load of that. You know, he's been putting up satellites, not on balloons. If you want to, they're either on balloons or they're not. Whether you subscribe to balloon satellites.
I think it's time. There's enough space out there. I think it's time for some company to bring more of the population into looking out there. In, you know, sort of like
more agencies
or something like
that. They did kind
not
of...
necessarily agencies, but private people like me.
That's
with
what I
a
mean,
computer,
but can I do that? Can the average person... Well, you can't even fly a drone bloody in the normal airspace, never mind space.
Well, one thing is... The design of the... they've already started the design of the space internet. And there's already been
I always
great
said
success
there's a bit of a danger with
now.
that. Sending out all human information all in one little... There you go.
Just
here's all our
empty
weaknesses.
Space, sending a drone into empty space and seeing what's actually out there. Because we only know where we've been, and we haven't been a lot of places. We've flown through a certain amount. That is it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, so this is it. It's known space, isn't it? It's known observable space, and this is why space seems to be getting bigger, because we can see that little bit further. And it's like, so you know, no wonder they keep making all these little discoveries and going, "Oh, we found a little planet here, or a moon here, or another black hole."
We still need to make discoveries here. Still
locally,
in our
localized
local space.
What we need to do is bloody look in the oceans. I think they need to put some actual serious investigation into.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
I did see this story, and I know you'll be pleased with this. because there was a bit of a nagging question about the future of the Space Force. Space Force. Excellent. Donald Trump. Like Space Force, now Biden's taken over as El Presidente. You know, Biden seems to be all for it. Artemis program will return to the moon as well as Space Force. He said it's going to be, he's quite infused with the concept of being involved with NASA. Well done. I mean, the fact that he's disbanded quite a lot of Trump stuff, but I mean, the Space Force was a radical one, and it's like, is it? I mean, at the end of the day, it's like it's a whole wing of the military that you'd have to turn around for and say, you've got to get a new job. I know we've been piss-arsing you about training you for space and that for a couple of months, but that's not going to happen now. Sorry. It's like, there's that one thing you could do, but, it's like, but no, they're going ahead with it. With the Biden administration.
Been told the truth as well.
Will not only continue with Space Force, but also the Artemis program.
Yes.
With two historic...
there's a 2 months to 4 month backlog on that.
So,
because he was checking that out. I brought in the news last week that they were investigating. Is it going to carry on, or are they going to dump it?
Have you got any more NASA news?
I have. The University of Norwich observed the first time in water tank black hole simulations. So they can simulate a black hole as close as possible. It's the first time they've ever been able to do it.
In a water tank?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
So how did he...
Because you're thinking... Because it's like... the tank
I'm already poking holes in it.
I think the tank as the universe.
Yeah.
Think as if you threw a ball in.
Well, isn't that just a vortex? I can do that in the bath. You know what I mean? It's that's like me putting in the news.
Certain elements to
Mr. Gaz
certain things to actually perform.
Created a black hole in his bathtub this week.
Well, no.
By experimenting, he basically explained to the Guardian newspaper that he thought of his bath water as space. Do you know? Because that's all you're telling me.
A lot more complicated.
Go on, explain.
A lot more. I haven't got all.
And his little rubber duck was his intrepid astronaut.
Okay. Yeah, because it can't be for the first time. Everyone's done it for the last quarter of the century.
Yeah, totally. I mean? But that's what I'm saying. So what makes this so special?
Because it has to form in a certain way. If it forms in a certain way, then it's closer to the way the reaction of observed up to now how a black hole would work. Yeah, just a normal taking the plug out and it swirling around. That doesn't work.
It does sound that simple. It does sound like exactly what they're doing, like to be honest. Yeah.
But it has to have certain elements to actually be able to be classed
as a black hole.
So
what's the discovery? What's the findings here on this one?
The finding is that now they can do more. Well, I don't know if it's a great thing, but they can do more tests on trying to get to one and what would happen afterwards as well, because there is also at the same time at the minute they're asking the question, if a human
were to go
over
through
the
one
event horizon, can they survive it through the other side? And we had a discussion before about it, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, because we were saying it would.
No.
Well, no, because it kind of right. So you think about what we've kind of theorized about black holes is that it could potentially be a wormhole. Yeah. So if you don't survive a wormhole, then you're going to get kind of broken up in that, aren't you?
Yeah, but Stephen Hawking's, one of his last papers, he was talking about black holes and how he now believes, and he put it in scientific form. I'm not going to go into that here
because I think if it's one or the other, isn't it? It's rather going to destroy you, or it could take you to another point in space. But until we actually know, we don't know.
So exactly. But
when you know, you know.
Calculates it. You break up as you got beyond the event horizon. You won't know it until the right.
Could be like beaming up. Do you know, like when you get, or teleportation, where you kind of broken down and then put back together or reconstituted on the opposite end.
Because they did an infrared picture of it, and it shows that it throws out particles on each end of its. It's not surface, but each end, so it looks like there's an arrow going through it.
Right.
But it's spurting off loads of.
You need to ride it, man. You need to get. Do you know? Have you ever been on one of those? A water slide at some good water parks, and it's like it flushes you down a big toilet almost. It's like you come off one end of the water slide and then you go round and round and round and then fall down the plug hole. Yeah.
Like getting flushed.
Yeah, like getting flushed down the loo. And it's like, that's how it seems to me about riding a black hole. They need to go round the edge and kind of spiral in rather than go all full hardy and dive straight in the middle.
But that's why I think we're in as the galaxy. The galaxy, the centre of the galaxy is a super black hole, and I think we're caught in it, and we're just in the the system of like going through it. Yeah, because there was.
Well, I know a few people who'd argue that because obviously,
Well, why not? Because it's a.
Oh no, I mean not myself.
Right,
I mean that sounds kind of exciting, I suppose.
And
but
new evidence is showing that we're closer to it than we originally thought. We thought we would walk more on the outer side, but we're actually more of the middle.
Right.
Than we are, supposedly.
Well, again, it's all about observable space, isn't it? Have you seen anything else this week? I've got one more NASA story before we move on.
Yeah, go for it, boss. Go for it.
Well, this man, you'll like this, Taylor. So this is about a man who claims he was looking for Saturn's rings.
Hey?
Yeah, there's a bit more to it than that. When he was caught with his trousers down on a lay-by.
What?
Hey,
Whoa,
it's a true story,
seriously?
honestly. Yeah. So he was, and this is the reason why he gave. So the man's been fined after claiming he drove 300 miles in a lockdown to take pictures of the planet from Snowdon. So he did actually take pictures of it. He wasn't chatting. He was there, but he did drive. I mean, he must have seen it was the best spot. Yeah. But he was caught with his trousers round his ankles by the North Wales police.
What was his excuse?
What
was his excuse?
His excuse was he was taking pictures of Saturn.
What, with his trousers round his
He
ankles?
might have needed a pee. I mean, I'm not saying there's some shady bit of dodgy people. I mean, I've walked into toilets where there's been people stood there with the pants right round their ankles at a urinal.
Walked past a mountain and seen a guy on the top of the mountain.
Well, the police were called to reports of two men laying on the ground. So they were laying on the ground
like
at the foot of Mount Snowdon. Yeah, right.
What's going on here?
And when they arrived, they tried to remove one of the face masks to ask, "Do you want to suck my dick?" So
what?
Yeah, so we'd obviously seriously. Then he's proceeded to walk around in just his underpants, ignoring any intention of like talking to the police. He was slurring his speech, and apparently was very unsteady. I doubt. I mean, but like he's saying, he said he wanted to be a photographer of planets, and he thought it was a really good place to get the photos from. He was taken
and he drove 300 miles.
Yep, in a lockdown. He was taken to St. Asp's police station to sober up, and the following morning he said he'd been driven from Southampton 2 days earlier to go camping and do some photography. So what's he been partaking in there? Some magic mushrooms or something?
You know what? It does sound like he's had a little party with the elves.
Well, he claimed not to know what tier his city was in. And he was unaware that there was any travel ban.
Oh my!
So, well, yeah, it sounds like he was proper on the ball.
You'd think that.
Sounds like he was an on the ball lad. That good chap. I think he'll go far in planetary photography.
Nick.
We remember that name. Yeah, what's he called?
Yeah. No idea.
Philip. What's he called? Philip Petrick. Yeah.
Philip Petrick.
Yeah.
So Philip Petrick.
So he was, trying to catch. I don't know if it was a Saturn's ring he was trying to look at up there on that mountain.
Sounds like he was after someone else's ring.
I know, yeah. So sort of dodgy guy. Yeah. Well, there you go. There's your news for this week. Some dodgy, some not so dodgy. Yeah. What?
That's life.
That's life.
Just funny, man.
Well, I believe you've got one more clue for us, have you not?
I do indeed.
Well,
the third and final clue is some people would pay an absolute fortune for one of these.
Oh, for one of these?
For one of these, an absolute fortune.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Well, if you think you know what that is from the clues provided, you know what to do. Get in touch with us. You can get in touch at neverastraightanswerpodcast@gmail.co.com. You can go to the website at neverastraightanswer.co.uk or hit us up at Twitter at NASA_never. Da-ding! We've got a promo this week. And here it is.
Do you love movies? I certainly do. Hi, Chris Roberts here, inviting you to listen to I Saw It on Linden Street, our weekly podcast dedicated to the joy of finding an appreciation in cult films, exploitation oddities, beloved classics, and all points in between. Join us for an informative deep dive into a film that we feel needs to be recognized, with background thrown in on actors, directors, and hey, if I'm doing my job right, you'll get a funny story out of me. So, join us here at I Saw It on Linden Street and listen today. Remember, folks, life's too short not to live in the past. Take it easy.
So, cheers for the guys over at I Saw It on Lindeman Street, which is obviously dedicated to cinema and cult film. If you like beloved classics, you know where to go. Wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
over there
cinema.
and have a little listen.
Do you know, it kind of makes me think, do you know, of my old cinema where I saw all my movies when I was growing up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where in my hometown, and it's a nice little podcast idea. So, and it's actually brought to you from Linden. Is it Linden Street Cinema? So, pretty cool.
Great.
You can check them out at www.lscep.com. I'll put a link in the description as well.
Yeah.
There you go. So, we've got some shout-outs this week, as usual. Well, shout-outs include this week, big shout-out to Big J.
Yeah.
Big shout-out to Dunk Dunk.
Dunk.
Swoosh.
Swishy,
the original
wishy.
Tiny Elvis. And big shout-out to our special guest today, TJ, for joining us on the show.
Yeah, man. Good guess.
And a big shout out to our reigning champion, Harriet, for winning the Chain Connections.
Harriet.
Yet again, can you beat her? Can you knock her off and get to the correct answer first? And there could be a little surprise in there for you as well if you do. So, worth doing. You can go over to www.patreon.com/neverstraightanswer or buymeacoffee.com/NASA-pod.
I just want one coffee.
It's nice that as well, NASA Pod, because it reminds me of one of those little coffee pods you get, which are really extremely bad for the environment, I must say.
And we're going to be living in one of them on Mars soon.
But you can buy us a coffee, over there. Nonetheless, hopefully it's environmentally friendly in a paper cup.
Yes, I'm hoping so.
So, that's pretty much the end of the show. I hope you've enjoyed our ramblings for another week. If you want to get in touch, if you've got a question, a comment or suggestion, you can email us at neverastraightanswerpodcast@gmail.com, which is a new email address we've set up because we don't want confusing you. Neverastraightanswerpodcast@gmail.com.
Wow.
Once again, neverastraightanswerpodcast@gmail.com. Or you can go to the website, new and improved, at neverastraightanswer.co.uk. Hit us up at Twitter at NASA_never. Or even go to our Instagram and Facebook at Never a Straight Answer. We're available on all podcast platforms, wherever you get your podcast fix, from Spotify to iHeartRadio, iTunes, all the best. We're there.
All the best, we're the rest.
Plus available on YouTube, where we've started making extra content as well, weekly little news segments and other bits and pieces, so go over and subscribe there. That's it. If you've stuck to the very end, we applaud you. We salute you.
We salute you.
And we'll catch you next week. I've been Gaz.
I've been Taylor.
And this has been the Never a Straight Answer podcast. Peace. Drag that out a bit.
I did. I like dragging.